Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Be relatively short today, but then I always say that and it drags on. What we've got then today, I went to a show yesterday, so I'll do a sort of report on that, how the day went. An orchid show. Did I buy any orchids? No. Did I come home with any orchids? Yes. Did I come home with anything else? Yes. So you have to wait and see. As it's Sunday, we do the thank yous, and we're doing them properly this week. So thanks for all those that are hanging in there on the Patreon site. That's absolutely great that you're managing to stay there. I know times are hard and things, but all the support comes in here. It all goes back into this. It doesn't go in Roger's retirement fund because we're spending that already. Yeah, so thanks to the Patreons. I'm not sure I've had any buy me a coffees this week, so I won't do thank yous for those, but don't forget that's there just as a one-off sort of thank you for a particular video that you enjoyed or something along those lines. I always think of the buy me a coffee as like, you know, if you go out for a meal frequently, every now and again you get a good one. The service was good, the meal was great, and you leave a tip. Yeah, possibly an extra tip. That's what the buy me a coffee is for. Just a one-off thank you for something that was useful to you, that sort of thing. The memberships for the channel itself, we've got no new ones, so I've got no shout outs to do this week. The ones that I've got have stayed there. That's good. So we've had no dropouts, not yet. I don't mean that in the student sense, obviously. Yeah, so thanks for that. Thanks for all the subscribers. If you're not subscribed, it would be nice if you did so. And thanks for the old thumbs up. Again, the number of subscribers and the thumbs up and the comments on the videos all help the channel grow, which attracts YouTube's attention. And that all helps. It all helps. So thank yous. Those are those done. And right, yesterday's show day. Cats had a problem yesterday morning. I don't know what disturbed them, but they wouldn't settle down. So Muggins here got up at 4:30 because they weren't going to shut up, yowling and purring in the ear hole and walking round and round the bed. It wasn't worth, you know, I just got up. So a very early start. But nonetheless, I had quite an early start from here to get to where I wanted to go. So I left here about 7:30. I'd had a piece of toast for breakfast, the last piece of toast of the loaf, otherwise I'd have had two, and a coffee to get me on my way. Now the beauty of the show, the Wessex show, is some of the members do the catering themselves. So while we're setting up and everything, the bacon rolls start. So we had a bacon roll to sort of top up the piece of toast, and then a bit later on we had another bacon roll and a coffee as the bits that I was doing sort of came to a close. I was expecting to sit on the reception desk all afternoon because the guy who normally does it has left the society. But I had some great help from two other members, absolutely great that they stepped in. So it was a shared load basically. We got some new members, some people renewed that we weren't expecting to renew, so it's upped our number of members. That's always good. And we had more through the door this time than we did last time at the new venue. So I think we can safely say that the Sunday, which we did in October, worked okay in the new venue. The Saturday in the new venue, yesterday, worked even better, which I personally was expecting because it's right near a shopping precinct, and the hall that we're using is literally in the entrance to the car park. So you've got to drive past the big sign saying Orchid show here today. Come and spend money. The traders did okay. Lawrence Hobbs was there, Arthur was there from Burnham's, and Peter White was there with his accessories, his bark and his all the sort of things, paraphernalia I'll call it, that you need if you're an orchid hobbyist, which is what we are. I videoed, what we've got on video is the competition tables. Now that was twofold. I filmed that for you people, so you can see the plants that were put in the competition. A bit thin on the ground, I must admit. But I've done that, and that was twofold because I now do the magazine for this Orchid Society. There will be a show report in the magazine, and obviously I needed individual pictures of the blooms and things, so that once Lynn sends me the list of who won what, the actual awards, I can put the two together with whose plant it was and everything. So although it was a video, I can take stills, you know, so literally the video hovered a little bit on individual blooms. That's the point, I'll take the still. What else did I film? I filmed Burnham's because Arthur set up a flipping good display, quite honestly. And this was before the public came in, so I had nobody in my way, so I managed to do a whole sweep of Burnham, so that's a sort of separate video. And Brian Gould was there with his own plants. He gets his own stand, mainly Cymbidiums, but I'll probably do that as an entirely separate video, as it's from an individual. It's not a collective or anything, not a trader. It's an individual, so I'll probably do that as a separate video. So we've got that to come as the week goes on. It won't be one big long video, and I certainly won't post it all tomorrow on Monday. It's the 5th today, so we've got everything on the 8th, coming up on the 8th. That's going to be the world's shortest video. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. So that's not going to take long, and a lot of them you've seen before anyway. This Cymbidium here, that went off into at the Wessex show. They do a display that is tropical plants, house plants, ornaments, strange shaped frogs and things, with orchids scattered around. So that one went in the display. I'll put my coffee down for a minute. My little cutie that I got from Riddlington at Bournemouth show last week, I took that in and put it on the front desk. I could have sold that 30 times, if not more. Everybody wanted it. Almost everybody coming past commented on it. So I believe I chose well. I don't know whether you've ever had a close-up on the blooms on this, but they take a good look because it grows on you. It's just delicately nice and attractive, and the plant itself is a true miniature, so I did well there, very well. Right, and also from the show's point of view, because we pay a lot less for the hall that we're now in compared with what we used to pay, there's a good profit gone into the pot basically, because some of our meetings will always make a loss. You know, we have to hire the hall, possibly pay for a speaker, and the only income at that meeting will be the raffle and the catering, and they don't cover it, so those run at a loss. So the shows are what stonks it up again, if you see what I mean. Catering did really well yesterday. They put a lot of money in the pot. And yeah, the raffle did pretty good as well. So the income for the show was pretty good. And net profit, good. So that was the show. I left here at 7:30. I got home at 5:45. I had some stuff to get out of the car. That is getting late for me to eat. It starts encroaching on, you know, indigestion when I go to bed if I eat too late. So I thought, well, I can't have no food. All I'd had at the show was 2 bacon rolls spread out and a slice of pineapple sponge a bit later on, because Lynn and I just went and had a sit down, you know, sort of have a break sort of thing, and had a drink and a slice of cake. That's all I had all day. That's not a lot. Oh, with me toast, I suppose. It's not a lot to go a whole day when you're at it, you know, on your feet, dealing with stuff and things. So I walked in the door and put a pizza straight on, and then unloaded the car and then sat down and had the pizza. I finished off what was left in the bottle of wine from yesterday, which wasn't even a full glass, and I sat there flicking channels for a bit with my eyes going like this, and in the end I thought, this is stupid, just go to bed and get a good night's sleep. So I was in bed at just after 8 o'clock, so a long day. And I'm refreshed this morning with a twinge or two on my back. Now I expected to have real backache today, so this business of doing a bit of sitting, a bit of standing, some walking around and not lifting anything heavy, because that often happens at shows, has worked. I've got away with it. My back's okay, so over the moon with that. Yeah. Right, so again, later this week on Friday we will have another one of the Project Orchids. We've got the videos to come from the show, we've got everything in bloom, world's shortest video, and there's probably going to be some more repotting. I really have got a lot to do. Now I know I knocked out a whole set the other day, that was 12 in one session, but they didn't get the full repotting treatment. It wasn't much more than shake the media off and put them back in the pot with new media. Some of the others will need more work than that, obviously. So, but I need to crack on. You know, we're into March now, so I'm currently 15 degrees overnight. That hasn't changed, but daytime I've gone up from 18 to 19. Once we get towards the middle of March, I will put that up to 20. And for longer. So I'm trying to kid these plants that it's spring and it's time to start either growing or blooming, or both in some cases. So that's but apart from that, nothing much has changed in the environment out here. That's just the temperature bits. The hot box sulfur melter thing goes on. It goes on at times when I don't need to come in here anymore for the rest of the day. Preferably early afternoon, so that it can have a good sort of 3 to 4 hours, and then I can come, because I need to come back in to change the thermostat. So you know, I've got the door taped up, so I have to walk right round and come in this door, you know, deep breath, walk in, change the thermostat, unplug the doodah, the hot box, and get out and shut the door, breathe out. But when it's actually full of those fumes, I don't really want to take a breath in here. So I'm quite happy to take the breath out there, hold it, and then, you know, let it go when I get outside. And the little bit that I have to do in there, I can do that on one breath. So you know, we don't take a gulp of the fumes in their raw state. Now later on, the chances are Mojo's going to want to go outside. He usually goes outside for 20 minutes or so in the evening before I go to bed. So I'll untape it and sort of open the door, let him through, shut the door again quickly. And by then it's sort of starting to disperse, so it doesn't stink the whole house out, which is good. I haven't heard from the lady who's going to come round and take all the pictures, the 6-monthly assessment from the agency. I haven't had any contact yet. I suspect she will ring on Monday tomorrow, and then I can make arrangements for her to come round. You know, quick whip round with the hoover, quick dust off some of the surfaces, make sure it's tidy in here. I've got a job to do outside because along the base of the conservatory there's a lot of green, a lot of algae has formed. So I just need to get the hose. It'll either wash off with the hose or I can get it wet and just use a brush and sort of scrub it off and then rinse it. So I've just got that little job to do, plus a little sweep up just to make sure there's no loose leaves so that it really looks nice and tidy out there. And that should do it. You should be okay. So that's that. Right, I'm not going to do any chatting about individual orchids, but what I will say is the next meeting for the Wessex Orchid Society is my talk. And the talk title is Dendrobium Through the Seasons. Now I've been collecting clips of dendrobiums, plus I've got videos that I've done in the past that are on YouTube. I've got a lot of work to gather together what I need to put that talk together. So I'll be doing work on that in the background. I'm not going to do that all at once. But there's a lot of the video clips that I want are actually on YouTube. So I've actually got to download them from the YouTube, stick them into my software and edit out the bits that I want. And then the soundtrack's got to be taken off and a new one put on, talked over sort of thing. Now I only need to put the soundtrack back on for you people because I will post the talk prior to doing it for real. When I do it for real, it's a silent movie, you know. It's not in black and white, but it's a silent movie. And I narrate it as it goes along. But for YouTube, obviously that would be a bit pointless, wouldn't it? So I do a soundtrack for it, which is along the lines of the words I will say on the day. And it gives you good people a chance, where there's pop-ups with text, it gives you people a chance to help me proofread it effectively, because you can't spell check text in a video. So once I've typed it in as a pop-up, you know, it could be spelt wrong, the wrong word, and you people always manage to point out everything that's wrong in that department. So we'll go through that again, we'll do that. So that's going to occupy a bit of background time for me. It's one of those things, when I get in the mood, I'll get a lot done. And if I start doing it and I'm not really in the mood, I won't get a lot done. Right, what did I come home with yesterday then? First of all, I'll have to put my coffee down, won't I? First of all, what did I buy? That's what I bought. As I said, I'm going back to using the sphagnum moss where appropriate. It's not going in every pot. There are some mounts that need unmounting, and I will use that with some live moss to replace it. I may just use the live moss, I don't know yet. I'm going to analyse what's happened with those that have had the live moss. The problem I've got is where I've kept things a lot drier because it's been cooler, the moss has died. And I don't know what effect that has on the pH. You see what I mean? So if I use this instead, this is already dead, it can't die. And I know how long it will last on a mount. And then it can be replaced. So it'll get used in places. It'll get used for root recovery. So when I come across, you know, one of those where you lift the plant out of the pot and it falls out because there's nothing holding it in there, and you have to regenerate a root system, that's what this is good at. So it does have a purpose. But it won't be used all over the place. So that's what I bought. Now we'll have a look at what else I bought home. And I'll have to bring it over. Now what happened yesterday was some cheeky people bought stuff in to donate to the society. In the main, books. We have a huge cabinet full of books called our library that never gets opened anymore because we haven't got a librarian, and we get them all out and lay them all out on the table and nobody ever takes any home, and you need a book to say who's got what. It doesn't get used. They're in there collecting dust. So people bringing us more books is a flipping nuisance because cupboard's full. So what we decided to do with these donations, I mean, in one case it was somebody's mum or dad had died and they had quite a lot of books, so they thought an Orchid Society would like them. So, you know, so the thought's there, it's a nice thought. But what we decided to do with these donated books, because that's different to ones that were donated or bought specifically for our library, we're just going to put them in the raffle in dribs and drabs until they're all gone. So guess who got to bring those home? Yeah, you got it. Right, so what else did I come home with? One of the people who brought some books in brought in what looked like some carrier bags, and they just got put behind the desk where I was sitting. I didn't have anything to do with that until it came to clear up. And then when it came to clear up, I said, whose stuff is this? And one of the ladies helping out on the desk said, oh, it's one of those people who bought the books in, brought those in as well. So they're like donations. And I thought, yeah, they might be donations, but they're coming home here first. And if I don't want them, then they will go back to the society. So let's have a look. Number one. Now this is glass. It needs handling with care. It would be very good for a veranda, possibly, to sit in. So that's one. It's obviously had water lying in it in the bottom, so it may well have been used for a veranda or something similar, because it's got a watermark around the base, not all up the sides and a ring round the top, it's just in the base. So that's had water, the bottom inch of that has had water standing in it. So that's one. We may have a use for it. Who knows? And then this, I haven't got out of the bag yet, so even I don't know what this is. But as you can see, when that was put behind the desk, to me it was just a carrier bag. I didn't know what was in it. But what is in it is another one of what we've just looked at. I'm not sure if that's the same size. I think it is, and it's been used in the same manner. So there's two of those. They are identical, they're exactly the same size. They are glass, they're not plastic. And then what was in the carrier bag? What was in the carrier bag? I haven't got a clue. Oh. That is a glass, straight-sided, well, almost a bucket. Is that a chip? No, that's sellotape. I thought it was chips, because obviously if there's a chip on glass, it's a jagged edge for one thing. Yes, it's a piece of sellotape that is over the top of a very small chip that hasn't got a sharp edge. So, but because that's why the tape was there. But what do you think? That'll go in there, and I can then have some moss with some water in the bottom, and it would hopefully wick up the roots that are in the moss, so they're not all sat in water or moss. It'll wick up those that dangle, and the humidity will go up around the plant. So yeah, that won't fit in those other two I've just shown you, but it will fit in there. I had a feeling that's what it was. It's flipping heavy as well. It's quite thick glass. It boings as well, so there's no cracks in it. So that's not a boing, that's a dung. But whatever it is, I'm going to keep that, and I think the other two may well go back to the society. I haven't got the heat anymore to be thinking about getting more Vandas in. I've already lost the one that Hannah got me. I'm very disappointed about. So I think the big purpley blue Vanda will go in there, and it might go up on the bathroom windowsill if it'll fit. This house doesn't have wide windowsills, and the bathroom and the kitchen are the only two windowsills without radiators underneath them. But the bathroom window gets in quite bright light. Okay, it's through a blind, but it gets bright light. That's where my Renanthera is at the moment. Right, so that's what was in the bag then. So that one's going to stay, and those two I'll take to the society. Right, and I said I didn't buy any orchids, but I came home with one. Oh! And this was in Brian's display, and when we were packing up, he came out, shoved it on the table next to my little cymbidium and said, "You can have that." I said, "What do you want for that?" He said, "Nothing, I don't want it, I was going to throw it in the bin." The reason for throwing it in the bin is, if you look at these pseudo bulbs at the base, they're discoloured. Now they may well be starting to rot. They're not soggy, but that would leave the one on its own with the spike. This little bit over here looks like a bit that got broken off, stuck in the pot, and has not been successful. It's in that rock wool, which is not my favourite thing, but it has got a lot of roots. It's a matter of, if that rot has set in, then the plant is doomed, and it may well be that. I may see, might be worth taking that spike off and starting that bulb on its own. Now okay, that means it's a couple of years away from ever blooming again, but it means it might be successful. I think leaving these bulbs on is probably not a good idea. They're discoloured for a reason, and they're not rock hard, so we might have to do a rescue. But it's a freebie, you know. I mean, it's got some blooms on it. As I said, it was even part of the display at the time. So that's what I came home with. That is bone dry as well. It really does need some water. But if Brian knew that was its last outing and it was going to go in the bin when he got home, then he probably wouldn't have bothered anyway. So that was that. Where's my coffee? Right, so I've got the rest of the books to do from the show yesterday. I've done most of it, but I've still got to get it all ready to go to the bank, or post office in my case, so that it's all where it should be, which I will leisurely do this afternoon. And that's all I'm going to do today. I'm going to have a real rest day to replenish the stocks, on the grounds that yesterday, that type of day takes quite a bit out of me. Now, while you're doing it, it seems fine. It's when you stop, when you finish. As I said, I was tired enough last night to go to bed an hour early. Yes, that will do for today. Oh, a little update. I'm not making a big deal out of this, but as I told you about my mild IBS, I am keeping a diary, and it's like a date, breakfast, lunch, evening meal, snacks, wine, the night before, and the rest of the day. That's where we analyse the visits to the toilet. And in amongst there, some patterns may arise. At the moment, there is no pattern because I haven't had a problem since I started the diary. So nothing that unusual has happened. But then the food's also been a bit plain. Tonight, because I didn't get anything out of the freezer and the time's getting on now, I will have one of my home-cooked portioned up meals, which means that's either curry, chilli, or spaghetti bolognese. Now, I did have a spaghetti back in the week. Now, that's got the garlic in it, heavy on the tomatoes, lean meat, that's fine, that's never going to cause a problem, I wouldn't have thought, and spaghetti, which is pasta, which is starch, basically, carbs. After effects of that, 0. Now, that had a lot of onions in it, and the sauces would have had the garlic in it, but that was onions and garlic, no effect. Well, no noticeable effect. Probably have effect if I lived on it, but just as one meal like that. And these are not huge portions either, you know, they're not sort of wheel me around on a trolley for the next 2 hours, they're not big portions. So I got away with that one. The chilli is probably the most dodgy one because again it'll have the garlic and the tomatoes as part of the sauce. It's also got the chilies in it for the heat, and it's also, when I make it, a lot of beans and a lot of onion. Now, that's the one that I'm expecting, you know, an after effect, shall we say, but we shall see. I might have that tonight. There's only a couple left in the freezer. And I need to test this sort of thing to decide, you know, the next time I do one of those big cooks, which one is it going to be, if you see what I mean. So, yes, so I'm keeping a diary, and so far it's serving no purpose because I haven't really noticed anything unusual. I go to the loo when I get up, that's done. I often go again like an hour or so later or 2 hours later, and occasionally, not often, I'll go like at the other end of the day. But you know, the diary will show up times where I've done that and gone in the evening and had to get up in the night as well. That's not right. That's not normal. But normal for me is first thing in the morning and at least one more sit down jobby during the day at some point. So, and none of it's in a panic for a start. Let's get that out of the way. None of it's get out of the way, doors open, you know, none of that. We don't get any of that. Unless I'm not well, that's a different thing altogether. So that's okay. But yes, that frequency for some people is more frequent than they would think is normal. But it's normal for me. I've been like that for years, you know, so nothing unusual, for me anyway. Talking to Lynn, dendrobiums coming into bud and doing things, and I said, well, mine aren't doing much. But then she gets an extra bit of heat boost because she gets some sun now and again, through shade netting obviously, but she gets that little bit of extra help. I've got my tortilla up there, has got a couple of buds showing, nothing else around here, nothing on those. The Nobiles, my prima donna buds are just opening now, so they'll hopefully be open enough to be worth filming on whenever it is, on the 8th. My little, well they're not mine, they're Hannah's. Hannah got given a couple of little Berryoda kikis that I just chucked in a pot. Well, one of the spikes on those kikis is just opening now. I'd forgotten that. So there's that. Yeah, but the dendrobiums are not really moving much at the moment. We do have some fun because my, what would that be? Whichever I kept. A Phyllum and Primulinum are very, very similar. So one got given away and one got kept. And the one I kept was because it came from Alberto in Italy. And I believe that was a Phyllum. But whichever one it is has grown 2 or 3 really large kikis hanging off the bottom of the canes. Those are all in bud. The kikis, not plant. Oh, actually, no, the plant. No, that's the old bud from when it bloomed before. Well, that's not. So the Phyllum's in bud. So that's coming on. I can't get at it, or I'd show you. We'll have a look round at some things another time. So I got some stuff to get on with at a leisurely pace that doesn't involve charging around, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by, and again thanks for all the people supporting the channel, however little or however much. It's all appreciated, every little bit, especially as I've just had a look at my energy bill. I didn't realise I put a couple of meter readings in for the gas and the electric, and within a day or two they actually update. They don't send the bill out, but you can go online and see what it's cost you so far. And this last 3-month period has cost a lot, and I mean a lot. But I've got help from 2 people who made large donations at the beginning directly towards the energy costs. Thank you very much. That's well over half of it. Yeah, the government have chipped in and given everybody so much towards their bill. Add that in, and yes, it's cost more to do what I've done over the last 3 months, and it's still going to cost over the next couple of months as well. But as the temperatures outside get higher, the amount of heater usage in the daytime drops right off, because I'm not losing it so fast out of the glass, so it doesn't need to be topped up so often. So it will tail off. And obviously the gas, which is what I cook with and what heats the house, that will tail off as the house doesn't need to be heated up so often. Unfortunately, this week we're going to have a cold snap, which includes the possibility of snow in quite a few places in the UK. So thanks for that. Just as you think it might be getting better. Anyway, so thanks to everybody who's sort of chipped in and helped effectively reduce that bill, because that would have been a bit of a killer if I was paying for all that myself. It really would. And then we start, once we get out into spring and the warmer weather comes, you sort of stop worrying about it for a while until next winter, and it all starts off again, doesn't it? All good fun. Hopefully by then the prices, the wholesale prices certainly of gas have dropped right off. But because the suppliers buy it so far in advance, what we're using at the moment is still at the high prices, so we don't get any reductions. But we'll have some sort of end of March, beginning of April, the government are going to have to say what they're going to do next, because if they allow the increase in April and stop the support, people are going to be homeless. People are going to not be able to pay their rents and their mortgages, and they're going to lose their homes. It's that bad. It's like being in a third world country, isn't it? Where is all the money going? It's not in my pocket, that's for sure. See you next time. Thanks for dropping by.